Henry stood there drenched, holding bags of takeout. Sorry about earlier, YN. I felt bad that you didn't get to eat, so I asked a friend for your address. I brought dinner to share. I hope you don't mind. A cold voice echoed behind me. She minds. It was Jungkook. The moment Henry saw the man behind me, his expression turned wary. Who is he? Jungkook leaned lazily against the wall, arms crossed, his tone indifferent. I live here. Who do you think I am? Henry's face darkened. He looked at me with a hint of accusation. You have a boyfriend? You're already living together? Why didn't you ever mention it? I was speechless. Just earlier tonight, I had already rejected Henry's advances as clearly as possible. So, why was he showing up at my door like this? Annoyed, I muttered, he's not. Henry's face eased a little. So, he's just a roommate. But co-ed roommates can be tricky, especially for a girl. Jungkook cut him off coldly. None of your business. Their eyes locked, both clearly irritated by the other's presence. Henry lifted the takeout bag in his hand, trying to act casual. YN, may I come in? I got all your favorites. Jungkook's gaze sharpened, his tone steeped in disdain. What are you saying? My YN can't afford her own food and needs your pity meal. Henry forced a smile and pretended to be magnanimous. Dude, since you're not her boyfriend, I assume I'm free to pursue her, right? Oh, are you limping? Once he noticed Jungkook's injury, his attitude visibly relaxed. He smiled meaningfully. No wonder YN feels safe living with you. I was already furious and ready to call building security to escort Henry out. Completely oblivious, Henry walked right into my home and began unpacking the takeout on the table. I wasn't sure what you liked, so I got a bit of everything. Do you eat spicy food? What about Sichuan dishes? YN, come eat. Jungkook suddenly kicked the trash can loud enough to echo across the room. He pressed his lips together and silently began dumping each box of takeout into the trash. Henry was startled, just about to explode in anger. But Jungkook grabbed his collar and punched him. 30 minutes later, Henry, with a bruise on his face, called the police and demanded compensation for medical and emotional damages. Under the officer's mediation, I ended up paying $2,000 to end the farce. Jungkook had a minor arm injury. Nothing serious. He lowered his eyes, rolled his wrist slightly, and muttered darkly, How long have you been seeing him? The accusatory tone immediately lit my fuse. That's your excuse for punching someone? Can you please drop the young master attitude and try solving problems like a normal person? If I hadn't stopped you, you'd be sitting in a jail cell right now. Jungkook, still simmering with anger, snapped back. He came to your door and harassed you. Was I supposed to just stand there and do nothing? Even if we're no longer together, YN, you wouldn't fall for an idiot like that, would you? Wow, he really had the nerve to bring up our breakup. I shut my eyes, took a deep breath, and pointed at the trash can that now reeked of food. Take that out first. He was still angry, but at least obedient. As soon as he stepped out with the trash bag, I closed the door and locked it behind him. And don't bother coming back. Before midnight, it started to rain heavily, like buckets pouring from the sky. I tossed and turned in bed. Jungkook used to have the entire John family backing him. He could afford to do whatever he wanted, and there would always be someone cleaning up after him, but I was just an ordinary person. What if something really happened to him out there? Would I be able to handle it? That was when it hit me. I had developed the instinct to protect him. He had once shielded me from so many things. He had made a creepy man in the mall publicly apologize to me. He had tracked down a debtor who owed me money and had the man deliver it to my door. He had even stepped in with me once to rescue a kidnapped little girl, beating the trafficker so badly, the guy fled in terror. I quietly lifted a corner of the curtain to check if he was still outside. Jungkook was curled up by the edge of the lawn, drenched from head to toe, looking fragile and pitiful. I rushed downstairs and held my umbrella over his head. You idiot. You could not just wait in the hallway. Rain trickled down his sharp jawline. His face was pale, clean, and striking under the downpour. He turned away stubbornly. I thought you did not want me anymore. Don't worry about me. If I'm going to leave, I'll make sure you never have to see me when you open your window. Fine, I'll go. He limped away into the shadows. 1 step, 2 steps, each slower than the last. I couldn't help blurting out, Hey, you. Suddenly, Jungkook turned around, ran back, and ducked under my umbrella. He wrapped his arms around me tightly. His body trembled as he choked out, How could you lock me out like that? My hand holding the umbrella shook slightly. I patted his back and spoke softly. I won't lock the door anymore. Let go. You're soaking my clothes. Then promise. Promise you'll never kick me out again. Fine, fine. I promise. He finally let go. Still dripping wet. But those deep glistening eyes of his were heartbreakingly bright. I looked at him seriously. But Jungkook, from now on, no more hitting people and no wasting food. Okay. Strangely enough, the rain stopped the moment I brought Jungkook home. I glanced at the bags he bought and grew suspicious. Jungkook hesitated, then finally admitted, I sold my watch. You said you like Japanese food, so I bought a few things. Jungkook. The next day, I heard that Henry's company fined him $2,000 for damaging corporate image through violent conduct. Soon after he was transferred to a faraway branch office. I blocked both Henry and the friend who gave him my address. Life got a lot quieter. Jungkook was still limping. The old doctor had been vague about the diagnosis. It'll take time. Still, he lowered his salary expectations and quickly found a desk job. The office happened to be near my studio, so we started taking the same bus to work. That bus used to be nearly empty, but lately it was oddly crowded. One time an older lady shoved me, and I ended up right in Jungkook's arms. Another time, someone pushed me again, and our faces nearly touched. Blushing, I tried to regain my composure. Jungkook gently picked up a strand of my hair and kissed the tip. It was just a light touch, barely noticeable, but I felt like electricity had run through my entire body. I glared at him, mouthing silently, why are we even on this bus? I never asked you to save money for me. His gaze turned deep and wistful, carrying a bitterness that caught me off guard. YN, I once imagined a future like this with you, just living simply side by side. But I gave up too easily. Is it still too late now? Back then, Jungkook and I had already reached the stage of discussing marriage. He had 2 younger sisters, arguably the most agreeable members of the John family. In front of Jungkook, they called me sister sweetly, and even invited me to go shopping with them. YN, have you seen this brand before? Just one button on this dress costs more than your monthly salary. If you like anything, just say so. Don't be shy. Our brother told us to treat you well. Sure, it might seem expensive to you, but to us, it's nothing at all. I didn't want anything. They grew bored and sat down in a random spot. Ugh, these heels are killing me, but I still haven't bought my Hermes bag. YN, can you go grab my purchase? Here, take my bank card, the pin is on it. I thought it was a sign of great trust, so I happily ran off to the Hermes door, only to be met with the sales assistant's condescending sneer and humiliation. I came back empty-handed. The 2 sisters exchanged a glance and giggled behind their hands. Oops. Sorry, we forgot you're not a member. You don't even qualify to look at the merchandise. From far away, the shop attendant spotted them and came out personally to greet them. Miss John, my apologies. I didn't know she was your assistant. The mall was bustling, overflowing with designer brands. They gleefully had the staff wrap up their purchases. I didn't go back inside. The door to the Hermes boutique felt like a dividing line between the nobility and the rest of us. It looked close, but in truth, the distance was vast, an uncrossable gulf. Mrs. John, Jungkook's mother, hated me even more. She tried everything. Emotional blackmail, moral guilt-tripping, personal insults. She pulled out every tactic she could think of. Many times, I considered leaving him. But Jungkook wouldn't let go. He held on to me and sobbed. Baby, just one more chance, please. Believe in me, okay? His father, Mr. John, the former chairman of the John Group, never laid a hand on me, but he couldn't stand the fact that his son was slipping from his control. Their worst fight ended with a porcelain teacup shattering against Jungkook's forehead. John Group is the culmination of my life's work. Forget your happiness. Your very life isn't worth more than this company. As the John family heir, you're marrying into the Lee family. If you won't marry Minji, then you're no son of mine. Jungkook didn't flinch. He let the blood drip down his forehead as he shouted back, fine, I don't care, you can keep your last name. After that, Jungkook moved in with me. We lived in a cheap rental and rode the bus. He spent day after day searching for a job, but we both knew no company would dare hire him. The only cruel thing Mr. John ever said to me, any company that hires you, I guarantee I'll bankrupt them within 3 days. Then came the message, I'd failed the civil service exam. With my meager post-grad salary, I paid for rent, utilities, and groceries, barely keeping us afloat. Deep down, I knew this was just Jungkook's way of rebelling against his family. He was their only son. His father, deeply sexist, would never pass the company down to his daughters. Jungkook was trying to force Chairman John to compromise, to choose both him and his love, but his father never came looking for him again. One day, I stumbled upon a scene from the hallway. Mrs. John, exhausted and tear-streaked, knelt before Jungkook with his 2 sisters, begging him to come home. Jungkook didn't agree, but he didn't say no either. That night, he was particularly rough. We went at it until midnight, reckless and wordless. Drained and sore, I turned my back to him and pretended to sleep. He lay silently beside me in the dark. After a long while, he finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Baby, I know you're awake. I used to naively believe that love could conquer all, but now I know overcoming everything isn't as simple as it sounds. Forget it. I've decided to be the heartless one. There's no excuse for it. I didn't dare open my eyes. Didn't dare make a sound. Afraid I wouldn't be able to stop myself from asking him to stay. Then I heard him choke back a sob. YN, you're such an amazing girl. You'll live beautifully and freely one day, won't you? I'm sorry, I won't be able to love you anymore. The bed shifted. Then the door slammed shut behind him. It locked automatically from the outside. He couldn't come back in. I stared up at the ceiling for a long, long time. Finally accepting the truth, he was gone. Jungkook had once risked everything for me. He'd given me a glimpse of sunlight in my ordinary life. But in the end, all I got was an abrupt, messy goodbye. It's fine. It's really fine. I kept telling myself that he was the heir to a legacy spanning generation. Why should he give it all up for someone like me, a nobody? This was reality. I didn't blame him. I bit into my blanket and cried all night until dawn. Less than a month later, I saw the engagement photos. Jungkook and Minji. She smiled like a flower. Her arm looped through his. He leaned in full of affection and kissed her on the forehead. At first, I convinced myself he was forced into it, that it was all just a show. But then the reports kept coming. Netizens started digging up everything, even matching couple keychains from their college years when Minji was studying abroad. Little by little, I began to feel betrayed. The timelines overlapped too well. There was no gap, no pause. Minji was stunning, always elegant, graceful, generous. How could Jungkook not be moved? The way he looked at her, there was no denying it. And he admitted it himself, didn't he? He was a heartless man. 3 years later, the heartless man had the audacity to come back. What are you mad about now? Fine, I was wrong. I won't kiss your hair next time, okay? He followed me all the way from the bus stop to my door. But when he saw the person standing in the corridor, his voice cut off mid-sentence. His face fell. It was a young woman seen from behind, a clear beauty. She wore a blush pink velvet bodycon skirt. Her hair was pinned up with a pearl barrette. Aside from the Hermes bag on her shoulder, the entire woman practically radiated elegance. She turned slowly upon hearing the sound. Jungkook, so here you are. What happened to your leg? I heard him reply flatly. None of your business. Pain flashed across Minji's eyes, but she still smiled politely at me. Sorry to intrude, Miss Kong. Ah, so the fiancé herself had arrived. Take your time. I'll give you two some space. I tactfully left them alone and went inside. I didn't care what they talked about. Really, I didn't. I curled up on the couch, feeding myself fries with my left hand and feeding Coco his treats with my right. A few minutes later, I heard a series of heart-wrenching shouts from outside the door. Why? Why would you rather live a hard life than come with me? So, what if it's tough? I can endure it, too. I'll prove to you that however much you love her, I love you just as much. Startled, I bit my finger and blinked. All this time, I had assumed the Lee family had turned their noses up at Jungkook for being broke, but now, it seemed he was the one refusing to go back. So, why was he still here with me? What was he getting out of this? Jungkook knocked on the door, asking to come back in. I cracked the door open and poked my head out, half skeptical. You're really not going with her? You want me to that badly? Jungkook replied, annoyed. Minji squeezed past him, poking her head through the door, and said to me, Miss Kong, I want to live here, too. How about $100,000 a night? There are hotels outside. $200,000. It's not about the money, I just don't have that much space. Minji softened her tone, pressing her palms together as if begging. I snuck out to find Jungkook. If I check into a hotel, my father will immediately find out and drag me back. Please, Miss Kong, I'm begging you. Jungkook desperately shot me a look, silently, begging me to turn her away. I smiled at Minji and said sweetly, come on in. Staring at the not quite 70 square meter apartment, I couldn't help but feel a strange kind of wonder. Perfect. Just perfect. The young chaebol of the John family, the heiress of the Lee family, all giving up their comfortable lives to struggle under one roof with me. Minji looked around the cramped place, her expression full of disbelief, as if she couldn't imagine how Jungkook had managed to survive in such conditions. But then she spotted Coco and immediately turned into a star-eyed mess. Oh my god, what an adorable little blue and white fluff ball. Mwah. Mwah. What's your name? Auntie will buy you treats and canned food. Okay. Mwah. Mwah. Coco let out a satisfied burp. He had just finished his snacks. Jungkook, on the other hand, was clearly uncomfortable. YN, there are only 2 bedrooms, how are we sleeping tonight? The 3 of us exchanged glances, each with different expressions. Minji, I'm the guest, so I should get the 2nd bedroom, right? Jungkook. Well, I'm not sharing with her. Me? In the end, I pointed at Jungkook and declared, you're on the couch. Minji gets the 2nd bedroom. I'll sleep in the master. Jungkook's face turned pale. He looked like he just swallowed a lemon. His ex-girlfriend and his fiancé under one roof. It was a little crowded. Minji was without a doubt a pampered heiress with 0 life skills. With an apologetic smile, she came over. The toilet's broken. Can you help? I smiled back politely. It's not a smart toilet. You have to press the button. Just press it. She didn't know how to wash socks and came asking again. Would you mind washing these for me? I can pay $10,000. I kept my smile. If you don't know how, you can learn. Jungkook knows. He can teach you. Jungkook, sensing danger, immediately shut his eyes and pretended to be asleep on the couch. In the middle of the night, Minji knocked on my door, hugging a pillow. YN, I'm a little scared. Can I sleep with you? Grumbling, I opened the door. She gave me a victorious smile, then climbed onto my bed and started whispering in my ear. Do you know which company Jungkook works at now? Of course I do. She grew serious. On the surface, it seems like nothing special. But if you trace the shareholders layer by layer, you'll discover the ultimate majority shareholder is JY Group. JY Group? I had heard the name 3 years ago. It exploded into the business world like a dark horse, swiftly dominating the market and shaking the entire financial industry. You didn't know, did you? Minji sighed. JY Group is the one that destroyed the John Group. They played dirty, secretly bribing John's core team, draining it from the inside out until there was nothing left but a shell. After the bankruptcy, those core members were absorbed by JY. But the strange thing is, no one has ever figured out who actually runs JY. My drowsiness vanished. If JY was the John family's mortal enemy, then Jungkook working for a company under their umbrella. Wasn't that dangerous? Did he know? Was he just pretending to work there, planning to infiltrate and take revenge? Minji went on to tell me more. She'd been fiercely independent since childhood, studying finance, business, and management. She had gone abroad, mastered 5 languages, and vowed to expand her family's legacy, but Chairman Lee, like Chairman John, was deeply patriarchal. No matter how brilliant Minji became, her father had only one thing to say. The company belongs to your brother. Don't even think about it. Eventually, he offered her a deal. If you can marry the John heir, I'll give you 30% of the shares. Minji did it. 3 years ago, she secured that 30%. I couldn't help but ask, do you love Jungkook? I do. Minji answered without hesitation. But now, Chairman Lee couldn't wait to cut ties with the John family. He wanted Minji and Jungkook to sign their cancellation papers. They were never officially married, but in high society, formalities like this mattered. It determined partnerships and social standing. Minji didn't want to let Jungkook go. She hoped the Lee family could help him through this difficult time. But her father came back with another tempting offer. If you sever ties with Jungkook, I'll give you another 10%. I sighed. A girl who had worked her whole life to become exceptional. In her parents' eyes, she was still just a bargaining chip in a marriage alliance. What a tragedy. The summer night was quiet. Wind rustled softly outside. Late-night conversations between women always went too deep, too far. I asked her, so, Miss Lee, what's the real reason you came this time? She smiled. Either I gain love or I gain power, but I won't leave empty-handed. The next morning, Minji and I walked out of the bedroom together. Jungkook was stunned. Wait, did you two sleep together? Yep, we answered in unison. Jungkook, who had spent the night on the rock-hard couch, looked utterly betrayed. You could have told me sooner. Minji pulled out the cancellation papers and set them lightly in front of Jungkook. Sign it. Jungkook paused for just a second, then signed it with a swift stroke. He kept his copy, let out a deep sigh, and showed a rare, relaxed smile. Trying to smooth things over, he suddenly got friendly. How are Uncle and Aunt Lee doing these days? When are you leaving? Want to stay for lunch? Minji tucked away the papers, her tone flat. No need to act this happy. I had always quite liked Minji. 3 years ago, Mrs. John brought me to an art exhibition auction. I never quite figured out her true intentions, but she insisted on taking me with her. The gallery was filled with wealthy young women, elegantly dressed. Everyone could say something insightful in front of a painting. Jungkook's second sister offered her analysis. The handling of details is truly masterful. The artist put great effort into showing subtle contrasts between elements. Every detail complements the next, creating a harmonious overall mood. The third sister chimed in, this piece uses bold colors to evoke a strong emotional atmosphere. The lines add layers, and the play of light and shadow brings dimensional depth. Then they both turned to look at me. YN, we heard from our brother that you like painting, what do you think? I was wearing a simple t-shirt and skirt, dressed like a student. Self-conscious, I hid behind the crowd. Suddenly being put on the spot, I stammered, blushing furiously. I think they all look very pretty. That was all I could manage. Though I claimed to love painting, all I really knew how to do was sketch with a pen on paper. When it came to commenting on other people's art, I had no pretty words, no sophisticated insight. Laughter rippled through the crowd. That was why Mrs. John brought me, to remind me of my place, to humiliate me in the one area I thought I had pride in. But then from the crowd, a calm, clear voice spoke up. Some people are born to create. Others are born to critique. If you look at these paintings, you'll notice only the artist's name is signed, never the critic's. It was Minji. Years later, when my illustrations came under harsh criticism, when I was on the verge of giving up, I'd still recall what she said. I trusted her character, admired her brilliance. She was rational, thoughtful, and self-aware. That night, she talked herself through her pain. You know, she sighed. I probably should have let go a long time ago. When I saw him willingly live in a shabby rental with you, refusing to come back with me, I realized he'll never love me in this life, so I keep fooling myself. She explained she didn't mean to look down on me for living in a rental. Then she generously offered a check for $1 million to help improve my quality of life. I gently held her hand down, sincerely, saying, I'm not short on money. Really, you have to believe me. You're just too proud, she said, withdrawing the check. All right, then. But if you ever need anything, message me. Jungkook, take care of YN. You're not allowed to hurt her. She left with grace and dignity, never looking back at Jungkook. Minji's parting words felt strangely like a blessing, as if she'd acknowledged Jungkook and I would be together. It was the weekend, so we had no work. Jungkook and I sat in the apartment, stealing glances at each other. The atmosphere was complicated. That night, as I showered, I kept thinking about what Minji had said, especially the words she'd spoken with unwavering certainty. I love him. I admired her for it, but I couldn't help feeling conflicted inside. Halfway through my shower, my hair covered in shampoo foam. The light suddenly went out. I shrieked. Jungkook rushed to the bathroom door. Don't be scared. It must be a blackout. It was pitch black inside. Impossible to shower properly. I turned off the water. Jungkook, can you bring me my phone? Turn off the screen first, then come in. He paused for a second. Okay. In the darkness, he couldn't see me, could only follow my voice step by step. The floor was wet, and he was still limping. Every move he made was cautious. It felt strange. I was completely naked, my skin slippery with foam. As I reached out to take the phone, my hand brushed against something warm, firm, something on his body. Startled, I jerked back. My foot slipped and I fell forward. He caught me, cushioning my fall. One hand instinctively cradled the back of my head. You, okay, he whispered. Yeah, you broke my fall. The foam slid down from my cheeks onto his face. Embarrassed, I wiped it away for him. His breath hitched slightly. I was still completely naked, lying directly on top of him. His breathing grew heavier. The bathroom was humid. Steam fogged the air. I could feel the rise and fall of his chest. I awkwardly wiped his face again. Jungkook, I said softly. Maybe you should quit that job, okay? I'll take care of you from now on, okay? And you have to love me properly. No more betrayal, okay? What do you mean, baby? I stammered. Maybe we could try again. A moment later, his arm reached out of the darkness and pulled me in. Time lost meaning. Somewhere along the way, he must have turned the water back on. Foam trickled down from my hair to my skin. I clung to him. My mind lit up in bursts of fireworks, one after another. Suddenly, the lights flicked on. Too bright, I couldn't open my eyes right away. When I finally did, I found myself staring at his face, dazed, flushed, overwhelmed by how suddenly exposed we were. He looked even more handsome than I remembered. Foam clung to his skin, his dark eyes intense, his lips stained with heat and color. In that moment, he belonged to me again. My eyes misted over. He kissed the corner of my eye. "Does it hurt?" he asked gently. I buried my face in his neck and mumbled. "The foam's kind of irritating on my skin." He chuckled, gently rinsed my hair, helped me finish my shower, wrapped me in a towel like a cocoon. After blow-drying my hair, I was already feeling drowsy. "Jungkook," I murmured, lids drooping. "If you stay with me, I'll make sure you never have to suffer again." He smiled. I'll follow you from now on like a good boy." Then, from the corner of his eye, he spotted something. A stack of real estate flyers. I had been house hunting recently. Among the flyers, I'd circled the apartment I liked best. He asked, "You like this one?" "Yeah, which floor?" "The top floor with a rooftop garden," I mumbled as I drifted off. I had actually already bought that apartment last year, paid in full. Renovations were complete. I was planning to move in this week, but because of Jungkook's sudden return, I didn't want him living in my new place just yet. So, I quietly postponed the plan, letting him stay in the rental with me. But now, things were different. Now, I was going to take him there to the top floor apartment, to a home I built with my own hands. He really was a lucky man. Jungkook said he had some errands to run and left early in the morning. Before I could tell him about moving into the new apartment, I got a call from the real estate agent. "Miss Shinara, are you planning to sell your property?" The apartment was under my mom's name, so the agent always assumed I was Shinara. "Of course not," I replied firmly. The agent sounded excited. Someone was apparently obsessed with buying the place, offering double the market price. "They must be crazy," I said and hung up. But the calls didn't stop. The agent said the buyer insisted on getting this particular unit and had already raised the price to 3 times the market value. I had paid $3 million for it, and now someone was offering $10 million. "Who's the buyer?" I asked casually. "YN. Who?" I jumped up from the couch. Now I couldn't keep calm. I paced around the room in frustration. I always considered myself a young, successful woman. But why did someone with my exact name have so much more money than me? I just had to see this for myself. It was hot outside. I threw on my sunglasses, a sun protection hoodie, and a hat. Then hopped on my little e-scooter and zipped off to the meeting location, Crystal Tower. Rumor had that the building was owned by JY Group. Despite being in the heart of the bustling city, the area was remarkably quiet. Fountains arched gracefully over trimmed lawns. Luxury cars lined the front. The black Bentley in front had a license plate that matched my birthday. Funny coincidence. Just before stepping inside, I reached up to take off the sunglasses, then froze. The man standing by the window looked a lot like Jungkook. He wore a tailored suit, tall and upright, gazing out through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Unsure, I ducked behind the door and peeked again. The man turned and strode leisurely toward the sofa, casually crossed his legs, and lit a cigar. 2 suited bodyguards stood behind him. The moment I saw his face, I forgot how to breathe. My mind exploded. It was Jungkook. What the hell? His leg was perfectly fine. He walked without a limp. His lips were tightly pressed, and his features carried a noble coldness. Nothing like the pitiful man I'd seen curled up on my doorstep. If not for the faint love bites still visible on his neck, I'd have doubted my own memory. This was the same Jungkook who'd been scarfing down steamed buns like a stray dog. The same Jungkook who stood in the rain pitifully accusing me of locking him out. The same man who just last night had let me kiss him all over like a spoiled puppy. Jungkook glanced at the Patek Philippe on his wrist. His assistant caught on immediately and urged the agent, "Why isn't she here yet?" "Remind her again." "Yes, of course. Miss Shin just said she's on her way." My phone lit up. I immediately silenced it and rejected the call. "Sir, the cigar scent might give you away," the assistant whispered. Jungkook paused and extinguished it without hesitation. The agent chuckled nervously. "So, this is for your wife." No wonder. That's when my attention shifted to one of his bodyguards. I have a pretty good memory. Suddenly, it hit me. Wasn't that the same guy who drove the taxi the night it rained? When Henry and I were caught in that sudden downpour, a taxi had magically appeared. Jungkook didn't just lie to me. He had me followed. Jungkook came home later holding my favorite spicy hot pot takeout. "Baby, wake up. Time to eat." He wore the same outfit from this morning. A plain white t-shirt, jeans, and budget sneakers I bought him. The whole set cost less than $100. Quick dresser apparently. After he'd left Crystal Tower, I'd hidden behind a sculpture. Not long after, I saw him walk out. Go to the hot pot restaurant, he told the assistant. I can pick it up for madam, the assistant offered. You can change. No need. And with that, he climbed into the Bentley, the one with my birthday on the plate. I returned to the rental on my scooter, pretending I was still asleep. Jungkook sat on the edge of the bed and gently kissed my forehead. Did I go too far last night? I turned away. I didn't want to talk. He softened his voice and patted my head. I waited in line for half an hour. Come on, baby. Eat. He remembered I liked fish cake, tofu, and napa cabbage. No ham, mild spice, extra sesame sauce. But everything tasted bland now. Seeing my mood, he came over and tried to hug me. Is it not good? You don't like the taste? I dodged his hug. What's that smell on you? It's awful. He sniffed his sleeve but couldn't detect anything. Still, he said, I'll go shower. His phone was on the couch. I tried every possible passcode. My birthday, his birthday, our anniversary. No luck. Then I typed in the date we broke up. It opened. I glanced toward the bathroom. No sign of him coming out yet. I scrolled quickly. His texts with his assistant were short, always just a few words, like arrange artificial rain. The timestamp matched the night I locked him out. He'd soaked himself on purpose to pull the sympathy card. The night I went out with Henry had the most messages. The assistant had been sending updates nonstop. All restaurants within his budget had been booked. No hug, no kiss. Henry tried to hold hands. Miss Kong avoided it. They're walking about half a meter apart. We can't follow too closely. Can't hear what they're saying. Understood. Don't worry, sir. Well, keep eyes on them. No physical contact allowed. Artificial rain scheduled. Jang is driving. Miss Kong is on her way home. One line puzzled me. The assistant had said extras have been arranged. Extras? Where were they? How did I not notice? Just then, a new message popped up. Sir, we've confirmed Shinara is madam's mother. Damn, that was fast. I typed back, mimicking Jungkook's tone. Got it. Then quickly deleted the last two messages and returned the phone. Jungkook came out of the bathroom. I was leaning against the bed, pretending to play on my phone. He kicked off his shoes and climbed into bed, rubbing against me like a spoiled cat. All clean now. Don't mind the smell anymore, right? My voice was calm, distant. I do mind. Jungkook pouted and clung to me, his grin totally shameless. You used me up last night, and now you're tossing me aside. I grabbed his collar. Our eyes met. I patted his cheek and said coolly, stop seducing me like some flirty little demon. That trick doesn't work on me. That night, I kicked Jungkook to the guest room. From the other side of the wall, he wailed dramatically. A fallen phoenix really is worse off than a chicken. Even throwing myself at you. You won't give me a glance. Baby, am I really that worthless? Just last night, didn't you praise me for having great stamina and endless tricks? I couldn't take it anymore and shoved in my earbuds. The next morning, I went to work as usual. Jungkook insisted on walking me to the bus stop. Once again, the morning commute had us pressed flush against each other. After getting off at my building, I made sure he left, then hailed a cab to follow that bus to the next stop. As I got out, I saw several passengers disembark. Among them was a young man in a suit, expertly directing a group of people. It was Jungkook's assistant. Everyone line up, $80 each. Don't worry, there's enough for everyone. I joined the end of the line. When it was my turn, he looked up and his eyes went wide. Mad dash, madam, Miss Kong, what are you doing here? I said nothing and walked away. Jungkook called me countless times. A light drizzle began to fall. I sat alone on a park bench for hours. Though the rain was gentle, my chiffon dress quickly soaked through and clung to my skin. I hugged my knees, staring blankly as raindrops splattered across the lake. After Jungkook left me 3 years ago, I worked like mad. I worked a full-time job during the day and at night, and on weekends I drew illustrations. Though there were many setbacks, I was lucky. I broke into the industry, earned recognition, and soon my income from drawing surpassed my day job salary. After earning my first $3 million, I resigned. After the second $3 million, I opened my own studio and bought the JY luxury apartment I'd always dreamed of. Among my peers, I was already doing pretty well, but having once glimpsed what real upper-class life looked like, I still felt poor, like no matter how hard I worked, I'd never be enough for someone like Jungkook. I had never bought luxury goods, still took my scooter or public transit, haggled at the market, and was notoriously stingy with myself. So, when Jungkook showed up broke and miserable, I had secretly thought, this time, for once, it's not him lowering himself for me. I can actually help him now. That's nice. I even told him shamelessly and proudly, life with me won't be hard. Turns out it was still him suffering to live with me. In a daze, I didn't notice the man who draped a suit jacket over my shoulders. I looked up. Jungkook stood there holding a transparent umbrella over my head. His black Bentley was parked not far away. He stood in the rain in a crisp white dress shirt and tailored trousers, slightly out of breath, eyes filled with visible panic. Not pretending anymore? I asked. YN, I was wrong. I slapped away his hand as he reached for mine, glaring at him. Only realizing now that you were wrong. I've known all along. Jungkook pursed his lips, then shifted back to that obedient, puppy-like demeanor. I plan to win your heart again by acting pitiful and then confess everything once you agree to get back together. But YN, you're too clever. You caught on. At least you're being honest now. I scoffed. He bent on one knee, squatting beside me while still holding the umbrella high. It was an uncomfortable position. Clutching my sleeve, he looked up at me pitifully. Baby, I swear I'll never lie to you again. A chill breeze swept across the lake. I pulled his jacket tighter. JY Group, is it yours? How did you find out? Then, as if suddenly understanding, he gave me a sheepish, flirty grin. JY Group is named after us. It's our company, our business. Do you like it? JY was founded after we broke up. Even back then, he'd already decided to embed my name into the empire he would devote his life to building. His license plate number was my birthday. His phone password was the day we broke up. He was the one who ended things. Maybe, just like me, that day haunted him like a knife to the heart. My nose stung. I found myself forgiving him far too easily. The rain got heavier. His shirt soaked through and turned nearly transparent, clinging tightly to his lean frame. I looked up at the sky. Let me guess, artificial rain again. He raised both hands dramatically. I swear this once from the heavens. We both laughed through tears. Still not leaving? Planning to let me get soaked? I teased. He looked as if he'd been pardoned, then suddenly swept me off my feet. His assistant appeared from nowhere, holding an umbrella dutifully behind us. I buried my face in Jungkook's shoulder and murmured, "You're soaked." It's uncomfortable. His throat bobbed slightly. Let's go home and shower. Turns out Jungkook wasn't Mr. John's only son. After he gave up his inheritance rights, Mr. John wasted no time bringing home his illegitimate child. John Seamin, not even a year younger than Jungkook. Mrs. John had been pregnant with Jungkook when Mr. John cheated. The mistress and her son had been living in hiding for over 20 years. Now that an opportunity to inherit the family business had come up, they were ready to do whatever it took. Mrs. John was devastated. She made a scene and was slapped hard by Mr. John. You know damn well status comes from sons. Your useless boy doesn't want to be a John. Then let him stay out forever. You birthed a disgrace, a waste of all my years of effort. At the time, Mr. John's health was failing. He needed a successor urgently, and a legitimate one. He was ready to divorce his wife and make the mistress his new bride. Mrs. John's world collapsed. She had been a wealthy housewife all her life. Her own family ties had long faded. If she lost her marriage, what would she have left? She brought her 2 daughters to Jungkook, collapsed at his feet, and sobbed, "Son, I carried you for 9 months and raised you all these years. Is this how you repay your mother? If your father divorces me, I'll kill myself right in front of you and YN. Make you two collect my body." Her daughters cried with her. Brother, Dad only cares about sons. If you're gone, he'll abandon us, too. You don't know how arrogant that mistress is. If her son inherits the company, we're done for. So that night, Jungkook left me. The scandal never made it to the public. The media knew how to keep their mouths shut. The illegitimate son's existence only circulated in certain private circles. After Mr. John's death, Seamin claimed inheritance rights, arguing that even a bastard son deserved his share of the family fortune. Some inside the company secretly supported Seamin, hoping to hollow out the John legacy. Jungkook despised his father for his selfishness, his betrayal, his utter disregard. So Jungkook made a choice. If that man cared more about the company than anything else, then he would destroy everything he cherished. Jungkook turned the tables. He secretly founded JY Group, orchestrating a gradual shift of assets, technology, and key personnel. In just 3 years, the once mighty John Group, a name that used to shake the business world with a single stomp, finally collapsed. The industry buzzed with disbelief. Debt collectors flooded their doors. John Seamin was pinned to the ground, one tooth knocked out, yelling, "I have nothing to do with the John family." Mr. John was never even my dad. He never acknowledged me. Why should I pay his debts? But he and his mother were no easy prey. During Jungkook's lowest, most desperate moment, they forced him to sign a document. John Se-min voluntarily renounces his inheritance rights to the John family. All assets, debts, and liability shall be assumed solely by Jungkook. John Se-min is no longer related to the John family. Jungkook had been waiting for this. He looked like he had no choice, but in reality, it was exactly what he wanted. Only the shell of John Group collapsed. The core, its people, its structure, its foundation had already been reborn as JY Group Empire. With the bones of the old empire, JY rose swiftly to the top, basking in glory. After hearing all this, I looked at him and said, "Wow, you're really something." Jungkook wrapped an arm around me, lazily, basking in post-bliss satisfaction. "Baby, I never wanted to break up with you. From the moment I left your home, I was already plotting how to come back to you, but the future felt so uncertain. I didn't dare make any promises I might not keep. I didn't want to let you down. For the past 3 years, I lived in constant fear, afraid you wouldn't be able to move on, but more than that, terrified you had moved on, gotten married, had children, and left me far behind. Honestly, I felt the same. After the breakup, I never fully recovered. Friends would say the best way to forget an old love is to start a new one. But Jungkook was irreplaceable. Once you've tasted the ocean, you don't crave puddles. Rather than force myself into half-hearted relationships, I chose to make money instead. But baby," he suddenly said, shifting the topic. "You actually bought that huge apartment. That's incredible. Can you really make that much from drawing?" I told him I didn't just draw commissions. I had my own studio. I was my own boss. Jungkook frowned and thought, then suddenly asked, "Those suggestive drawings of yours, how did they pass content review?" I smacked him, then raised my hand solemnly. "Every one of my illustrations upholds the core socialist values." "What's your account name?" "Let me take a look." His eyes narrowed playfully. I felt a chill run down my spine, but then stood firm. He could have my heart. He could have my body, but he was never getting that account. A few days ago, a couple of my more suggestive drawings by popular demand were seen by someone. He leaned close and whispered in my ear, "Baby, your drawings are amazing. So creative." Then he flipped me over and whispered lower, "Let's give it a try ourselves." Afterwards, I bit his arm and panted, "Jungkook, you're the real inappropriate one." The night deepened. City lights flickered through the window as the heat between us slowly dissipated. Propped up on one elbow, Jungkook looked down at me for a long moment. Then he said suddenly, "Let's get married, baby." Bonus chapter: When John Group went bankrupt, Jungkook sent his mother and sisters to the countryside. The 3 of them had a full-blown meltdown. When they found out it was all Jungkook's doing, they melted down again. Then he brought me home and they had their 3rd breakdown. Strangely, I wasn't intimidated this time. When I stepped through the John Mansion gates, I didn't shrink back like before, feeling inferior. I wore my favorite dress and smiled with genuine confidence. I might never be able to match their wealth, but my career, that was my armor. Jungkook and I had agreed after we married, we wouldn't live with them. Separate waters, separate wells. Then I discovered something amusing. In John's 2nd and 3rd sisters' bedrooms were several limited edition art books. They looked awfully familiar. I couldn't resist peeking. "Don't touch that." 2nd sister darted forward and yanked the book from my hands, hugging it protectively. "That's a signed copy from the artist Cool Breeze But Cheeks, a unique collector's edition. If you smudge it, can you even afford to pay for it?" I'm the admin of her fan group. I promote her work every day and run hashtags for her online. She noticed me and sent me this special signed copy. I was stunned. Wait, my most active fan account was 2nd sister. Jungkook had planned to scold her for being rude. But when he noticed my strange reaction, he wisely held his tongue. Then 3rd sister puffed up proudly, hands on hips. "YN, you country bumpkin. Never heard of Cool Breeze But Cheeks. Do you even know how popular she is? The milk tea we drink every day? That's a collab with her." On the way home, I couldn't stop laughing. The same 2 girls who once mocked me for drawing, now my top fans buying my art. I'll never tell them who I am. The dual life of internet fame and real-world awkwardness is kind of fun, actually. At a red light, Jungkook suddenly leaned over with a mischievous grin and whispered, "Cool Breeze But Cheeks, why don't we do real-life experiment of your drawings tonight and have an in-depth discussion on how to make new illustrations?" The end.